Top 10 Most American Cars Ever Made. Number 10, 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air. If you had to pick one car that screams 1950s America, it would almost certainly be the 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air. By the time this model rolled into showrooms, the post-war boom was in full swing. Families were moving into suburbs, rock and roll was on the radio, and cars were more than just transportation, they were rolling statements of style, status, and optimism. The 57 Bel Air stood out thanks to its iconic tail fins, chrome accents, and that unmistakable gold V emblem on V8-equipped models. Buyers could choose from several body styles, including sedans, convertibles, and the now highly collectible two-door hardtop. Under the hood, Chevrolet offered a wide range of engines, but the most famous option was the 283 cubic inch small-block V8 with Rochester ramjet fuel injection, one of the first production cars in the world to use fuel injection. At the time, that was space-age technology. Size-wise, the Bel Air measured about 200 inches in length, sitting on a 115-inch wheelbase. It wasn't massive by today's standards, but it had the wide stance and low-slung look that made it appear far more dramatic. Inside, buyers got bright two-tone upholstery, plenty of chrome trim, and a dash design that matched the exterior's flair. It wasn't just a car, it was a statement of mid-century American design philosophy, bold, optimistic, and a little bit flashy. Back in 1957, a new Bel Air started around $2,500, depending on trim and options. Today, pristine examples, especially convertibles or fuel-injected V8s, can fetch serious money. At major auctions, it's not unusual to see top-condition cars sell for anywhere from $70,000 to over $150,000, depending on originality and provenance. More common models, like four-door sedans, can still be found for less, making them a gateway classic for collectors. The 1957 Bel Air earns its spot on this list because it represents the golden age of American car design. It wasn't the fastest, or the rarest, but it was the car that captured the imagination of an entire generation, and more than 6 decades later, it still symbolizes what many people think of when they picture classic American cars. Number 9, 1963 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray, C2. When the second-generation Corvette debuted in 1963, it marked a turning point for America's sports car. The Corvette had been around since the early 1950s, but it was the C2 Stingray that transformed it from a stylish roadster into a true performance icon capable of going head-to-head with Europe's finest. The '63 Stingray featured one of the most striking designs of the era, penned by Larry Shinoda under the direction of Bill Mitchell. Its sharp, aerodynamic lines, hidden headlights, and coupe body with the famous split rear window made it look like something out of the future. That split window was controversial at the time. Drivers complained about poor rear visibility, but today it's one of the most desirable design quirks in classic car history. Underneath the skin, Chevrolet engineers gave the Stingray real sports car credentials. It was the first Corvette to ride on an independent rear suspension, dramatically improving handling compared to the live-axle setup of the earlier C1 models. Buyers could choose from a variety of small-block and big-block V8 engines, with outputs ranging from around 250 to over 360 horsepower. With the lightweight fiberglass body, measuring about 175 inches in length on a 98-inch wheelbase, the Stingray had both the looks and performance to earn worldwide respect. Inside, the car continued the jet age theme. Bucket seats, a full set of gauges, and a driver-focused cockpit made it clear this was not just a cruiser but a machine built for serious driving. Chevrolet also offered the Corvette as both a coupe and convertible, broadening its appeal. Back in 1963, a new Corvette Stingray started at roughly $4,000, making it attainable compared to exotic imports. Today, however, the story is very different. A pristine 1963 split-window coupe can command well over $150,000 at auction, with rare high-performance models, like those equipped with fuel injection, selling for $250,000 or more. Even less exotic versions still carry significant collector value, often crossing the six-figure mark if well preserved. The 1963 Corvette Stingray earns its place on this list because it redefined what an American car could be. It wasn't just about size and power, it was about precision, style, and engineering innovation. More than 6 decades later, it remains one of the most instantly recognizable and celebrated American cars ever built. Number 8, 1969 Dodge Charger R/T. Few cars capture the essence of late 1960s American muscle better than the 1969 Dodge Charger R/T. This car wasn't just a high-performance machine, it was also a cultural icon, thanks in part to Hollywood appearances in films like Bullet and, later, The Dukes of Hazzard. By the end of the decade, Dodge had carved itself a reputation as one of the boldest muscle car makers, and the Charger R/T was its flagship. The 1969 model carried over the sleek fastback, Coke bottle design of the second-generation Charger but added subtle refinements, including a split front grille and round taillights that gave it a menacing look. The Charger was a full-sized coupe, measuring about 208 inches long on a 117-inch wheelbase. Despite its size, the car's aggressive proportions and low stance made it look fast even when parked. Under the hood, the Charger R/T, short for road/track, came standard with a 440 cubic inch Magnum V8 producing 375 horsepower, more than enough to deliver thrilling straight-line performance. For those who wanted the ultimate bragging rights, Dodge offered the legendary 426 Hemi V8, rated at 425 horsepower. On paper, the numbers were impressive, but in reality, both engines were often underrated, and real-world performance could be even stronger. Paired with either a 4-speed manual or 3-speed torque-flight automatic, the Charger R/T was one of the true street warriors of its time. Inside, the car had a spacious interior with optional bucket seats, a full-length console, and performance-oriented gauges. While it wasn't as plush as some luxury models, Dodge struck a balance between comfort and raw muscle. It was a car you could drive daily but also take to the drag strip on the weekend. Back in 1969, the Charger R/T started at around $3,600, an attainable price for young enthusiasts looking for speed. Today, however, prices tell a very different story. A well-restored 1969 Charger R/T with the 440 engine can bring $70,000 to $120,000 at auction, while genuine Hemi-equipped models often surpass $200,000 and, in some cases, approach $500,000, depending on rarity and condition. The '69 Charger R/T deserves its place on this list because it embodies everything the muscle car era stood for: big engines, bold styling, and a sense of unfiltered American attitude. It was fast, intimidating, and unapologetically excessive, and that's exactly why enthusiasts still revere it today. Number 7, 964.5 Ford Mustang. If there's one car that can claim to have started an entirely new genre, it's the 1964 1/2 Ford Mustang. Technically a 1965 model, the early launch Mustangs hit showrooms in April 1964, forever changing the American car market. This was the birth of the pony car, affordable, sporty-looking coupes and convertibles aimed at younger buyers. Ford's gamble worked better than anyone could have predicted. They sold over 400,000 Mustangs in the first year alone. The Mustang's appeal came down to its perfect blend of style, customization, and price. Its long hood, short deck design became instantly iconic, and Ford marketed it as the car designed to be designed by you. Buyers could choose from a dizzying array of options, from 6-cylinder economy versions to V8-powered performance trims. The early GT package, with upgraded suspension, dual exhausts, and optional 289 cubic inch V8, gave the Mustang real street credibility. Dimensionally, the original Mustang wasn't a huge car. Riding on a 108-inch wheelbase, it was about 181 inches long, compact enough for city driving but still roomy enough inside for 4 passengers. That practicality, combined with sporty looks, made it the perfect car for the booming baby boomer generation just starting to buy cars. Prices were equally attractive. In 1964, a base Mustang coupe started under $2,400, about the cost of a well-equipped compact car at the time. But the real magic was in how flexible the pricing could be. Buyers could spend a little more and walk away with a convertible, a GT, or even a high-performance K-Code 289 V8. Today, those early Mustangs are blue-chip classics. A clean, driver-quality coupe might run $30,000 to $50,000, while pristine GT models or rare K-Code cars can easily top $100,000 at auction. The Mustang's cultural impact was just as important as its performance. It became the car of choice for everyone from first-time buyers to movie stars. Its starring role in films like Bullitt cemented its status as a pop culture icon. And because Ford made so many of them, the Mustang became a symbol of accessible performance, an American dream car that almost anyone could afford. The 1964 1/2 Mustang earns its place on this list not just because it was a sales phenomenon, but because it reshaped the auto industry. Competitors from GM, Chrysler, and AMC scrambled to release their own pony cars, igniting one of the most exciting eras in automotive history. More than 6 decades later, the Mustang remains in continuous production, a living testament to the enduring power of that original idea. Number 6, 1970 Plymouth Hemi Cuda. If the 1964 1/2 Mustang kicked off the pony car era, the 1970 Plymouth Cuda took that formula and cranked it up to 11. Based on the redesigned third-generation Barracuda, the Cuda became Plymouth's ultimate performance machine, and when equipped with the legendary 426 Hemi, it transformed into one of the most fearsome muscle cars ever built. The 1970 model year brought an all-new platform, known as the E-Body, which it shared with the Dodge Challenger. Shorter, wider, and lower than its predecessor, the Cuda had aggressive proportions that screamed performance. Bold styling touches like the shaker hood scoop, optional billboard side stripes, and menacing front grille gave it an unmistakable presence. At just over 191 inches in length on a 108-inch wheelbase, it wasn't as massive as some full-sized muscle cars, but its stance made it look like it owned the road. Of course, the real star was what lay under the hood. The 426 cubic inch Hemi V8 was officially rated at 425 horsepower and 490 lb-ft of torque, but in reality, those numbers were notoriously conservative. With dual 4-barrel carburetors and massive breathing capacity, the Hemi turned the Cuda into a street-legal dragster. Buyers could pair it with either a 4-speed manual or 3-speed TorqueFlite automatic, both beefed up to handle the Hemi's brute force. Other performance options included heavy-duty suspension, limited-slip differentials, and upgraded brakes. Inside, the Cuda balanced muscle with comfort. Bucket seats, a rally-style dashboard with full instrumentation, and optional luxury trim packages made it more versatile than its stripped-down competitors. Still, no one bought a Hemi Cuda for plush interiors. This was a car built for speed and intimidation. Back in 1970, a Hemi Cuda carried a base price of around $3,300, but once you added the Hemi engine option, that figure quickly jumped by nearly $900, a hefty premium at the time. The high price, combined with insurance surcharges on powerful cars, meant very few Hemi Cudas were built. In fact, only about 652 were produced in 1970, making them exceptionally rare today. That rarity is a big reason why the Hemi Cuda has become one of the most valuable muscle cars on the planet. At modern auctions, a well-documented Hemi Cuda coupe will often bring $200,000 to $300,000. Convertibles, of which only a handful were ever built, have sold for several $1,000,000, placing them among the most coveted American classics of all time. The 1970 Hemi Cuda earns its spot on this list not just for its raw power, but for what it represents, the peak of the muscle car era. It was big, loud, brash, and unapologetically American, a car that pushed the boundaries of performance while embodying the rebellious spirit of its time. Number 5, 1959 Cadillac Eldorado. If there's one car that symbolizes the excess and optimism of 1950s America, it's the 1959 Cadillac Eldorado. This was Detroit at its most flamboyant, a time when car design wasn't just about engineering but about making a statement. The '59 Eldorado didn't whisper luxury, it shouted it with the tallest, most dramatic tail fins ever put on a production car, complete with rocket-inspired taillights that looked like they were ready for liftoff. Measuring an incredible 225 inches long on a 130-inch wheelbase, the Eldorado was one of the largest passenger cars ever built. With its massive chrome bumpers, wide grille, and sculpted bodywork, it projected both elegance and intimidation. This was a car meant to be seen in, the kind of vehicle that made every driveway or boulevard feel like a Hollywood premiere. Under the hood, the Eldorado packed Cadillac's 390 cubic inch V8, delivering around 345 horsepower. It wasn't a muscle car in the traditional sense, but performance was smooth and effortless, thanks in part to the Hydra-matic automatic transmission. This car wasn't about drag strip times, it was about floating down the highway with unmatched style and comfort. Inside, Cadillac spared no expense. Power everything, windows, seats, and even antennae, came standard. Plush upholstery, elaborate dash design, and attention to detail made the Eldorado the pinnacle of American luxury. It also introduced features that hinted at the future, like advanced suspension systems designed to improve ride quality, and optional air conditioning at a time when that was still a rare luxury. Back in 1959, the Eldorado was one of the most expensive cars on the market, with a base price over $7,400, more than double the cost of a typical new car that year. That exclusivity kept production numbers relatively low. Today, the '59 Eldorado is among the most collectible American classics. Well-restored examples often sell in the $150,000 to $250,000 range, with especially pristine or rare configurations commanding even higher bids. The 1959 Cadillac Eldorado deserves its place on this list because it represents the high-water mark of post-war American automotive design. It wasn't just transportation, it was rolling architecture, a chrome and steel monument to ambition. Love it or hate it, the Eldorado perfectly embodied the boldness of its era, making it one of the most American cars ever built. Number 4, 1941 Willys MB Jeep. Few vehicles are as tied to America's identity as the Jeep. Born out of necessity during World War II, the 1941 Willys MB, better known simply as the Jeep, became not just a military workhorse but also a cultural icon of toughness and freedom. When the U.S. Army called for a light reconnaissance vehicle that could go anywhere and do anything, Willys Overland stepped up with a design that would become one of the most influential vehicles in history. The Willys MB was simple, rugged, and brilliantly functional. Measuring just 132 inches long with an 80-inch wheelbase, it was small enough to be easily transported overseas yet big enough to carry soldiers and gear across rough terrain. Its ground clearance, four-wheel drive, and short overhangs made it capable of tackling mud, snow, and sand where traditional vehicles would get hopelessly stuck. Under the hood sat the trusty 134 cubic inch Go Devil four-cylinder engine, producing a modest 60 horsepower and 105 lb-ft of torque. On paper, that sounds laughable compared to muscle cars of later decades, but the Jeep was never about speed. It was about reliability and versatility. Mated to a 3-speed manual transmission and 2-speed transfer case, the Willys MB could crawl, climb, and ford water with remarkable capability. The interior was stripped down to the essentials: metal seats, a Spartan dashboard, and virtually no luxury features. Everything about the Jeep was designed with function in mind: easy to repair in the field, easy to mass produce, and easy for soldiers to operate with minimal training. Its flat fenders, fold-down windshield, and canvas top added to its rugged charm. During the war, the government paid around $750 per unit, cheap enough to mass-produce the nearly 650,000 Jeeps built for military service between Willys, Ford, and Bantam. Today, surviving Willys MBs are cherished by collectors, museums, and veterans groups. Prices vary widely based on originality and condition, but a well-preserved example can command anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000, with rare or historically significant models fetching much more. The 1941 Jeep earns its place on this list because it was more than a vehicle, it was a symbol of American ingenuity and resilience. General Dwight D. Eisenhower once credited the Jeep as one of the most important tools in winning the war. After World War II, its legacy continued with civilian versions like the CJ series, laying the foundation for the Jeep brand we know today. Simply put, the Willys MB didn't just carry soldiers, it carried the American spirit. Number 3, 1969 Chevrolet Camaro Z/28. When you think of the golden era of American pony cars, the 1969 Chevrolet Camaro Z/28 stands tall as one of the most legendary. By the late 60s, the Mustang had ignited a fierce competition, and Chevy's answer, the Camaro, quickly carved out its own identity. The Z/28 wasn't just a trim level, it was Chevrolet's homologation special for the SCCA Trans Am Racing Series, making it a street car with serious track pedigree. The 1969 model year brought subtle styling changes that gave the Camaro a wider, meaner stance. With its long hood, short rear deck, and aggressive grille, the Z/28 looked every bit the part of a road racer. Measuring about 186 inches long on a 108-inch wheelbase, it was compact but muscular, striking a balance between sporty agility and road presence. Optional features like cowl induction hoods, racing stripes, and front air dams only amplified its aggressive personality. Under the hood sat the heart of the Z/28, a high-revving 302 cubic inch small block V8, officially rated at 290 horsepower. In reality, output was closer to 350 horsepower, but Chevy deliberately underrated it to satisfy insurance requirements and racing regulations. With a 4-speed manual transmission and a mandatory 3.73 or steeper rear axle ratio, the Z/28 wasn't about drag strip dominance but about balance, handling, and endurance racing performance. On twisty roads or race tracks, it could hang with, and often beat, European sports cars costing far more. Inside, the Z/28 was functional but could be optioned up for comfort. Bucket seats, a console-mounted tachometer, and rally gauges gave it a driver-focused feel. Still, this was a car built with one goal in mind, to compete. That racing DNA seeped into every detail, from suspension tuning to braking upgrades. When new, the Z/28 cost around $3,500, reasonable for the performance it offered. Today, though, original 69 Z/28s are highly sought after. Standard models in good condition often fetch $70,000 to $100,000, while cars with original drivetrain components and documentation can climb into the $150,000 to $200,000 range. Rare options, like cross-ram intake setups or JL8 four-wheel disc brakes, push values even higher. The 1969 Camaro Z/28 earns its spot because it perfectly blended American muscle with road racing precision. It wasn't the most powerful pony car of its era, but it was one of the most balanced and influential. More than half a century later, enthusiasts still look back on the 69 Z/28 as one of the purest expressions of what an American performance car should be: loud, fast, and capable of taking on the world. Number 2, 1908 Ford Model T. No list of the most American cars could be complete without the Ford Model T, introduced in 1908. It wasn't just a car, it was a revolution. Henry Ford's vision of building an affordable, reliable automobile for the masses transformed America from a horse and buggy nation into a car-driving society. More than 15 million Model Ts were produced between 1908 and 1927, making it one of the best-selling vehicles of all time and the first car that ordinary Americans could truly own. The Model T's brilliance lay in its simplicity. Built with a rugged steel chassis and powered by a 177 cubic inch four-cylinder engine producing about 20 horsepower, it wasn't fast, topping out at around 40 to 45 miles per hour, but it was durable and dependable. The engine was designed to run on gasoline, kerosene, or even ethanol, which made it practical in rural areas where fuel supplies could vary. It used a 2-speed planetary gear transmission controlled by foot pedals, which confused newcomers at first but proved easy to master. In terms of size, the Model T rode on a 100-inch wheelbase and measured about 134 inches long, making it compact enough for farm work yet big enough to carry a family. It came in a variety of body styles, runabouts, touring cars, coupes, and even trucks, but they all shared the same mechanical foundation. Its high ground clearance and tough suspension made it perfectly suited to America's rough, unpaved roads of the era. At launch in 1908, the Model T cost about $825, already cheaper than many competitors. But the real breakthrough came when Ford implemented the moving assembly line in 1913, slashing production time and costs. By the mid-1920s, a new Model T could be had for under $300, bringing car ownership within reach of nearly every American household. It was more than transportation, it was freedom. Today, surviving Model Ts are prized as historical artifacts rather than collector investments. Depending on condition and body style, they usually sell for $15,000 to $30,000, though museum quality or rare variants can fetch more. Their value lies less in monetary terms and more in the role they played in shaping American life. The Ford Model T earns its spot near the top of this list because it democratized mobility. It wasn't about power or speed, it was about accessibility and impact. More than any other car, it put America on wheels, changed how people lived and worked, and set the stage for the nation's love affair with the automobile. Number 1 Ford F-150, 1975, present. When it comes to defining what it means to be an American vehicle, no car or truck has had more cultural and economic impact than the Ford F-Series, particularly the F-150. Introduced in 1975, the F-150 quickly became Ford's best-selling pickup, and by the early 1980s, it was on its way to becoming the best-selling vehicle in America, a title it has held for more than 4 decades straight. More than any muscle car, luxury icon, or historical classic, the F-150 is the vehicle that America quite literally runs on. The F-150 was designed to be versatile, a workhorse for farmers, contractors, and small businesses, but also comfortable and customizable enough for families. Over the years, it has evolved through multiple generations, growing larger and more refined while still keeping its core values of durability and utility intact. Early models of the F-150 measured about 210 inches long on a 133-inch wheelbase, though today's versions are significantly bigger, with some trims stretching over 250 inches. That growth mirrors America's own automotive appetite: bigger, stronger, and more capable. Under the hood, the F-150 has offered a wide array of engines over the years, from straight sixes and small-block V8s in the early models to modern turbocharged EcoBoost V6s, powerful Coyote V8s, and even all-electric power in the new F-150 Lightning. No matter the era, the truck has always balanced capability with adaptability. Whether hauling lumber, towing trailers, or serving as a daily driver, the F-150 has remained the Swiss Army knife of American vehicles. Features have likewise evolved. Early F-150s were Spartan, with vinyl seats and basic dashboards. Today, high-end trims like the Platinum and Limited rival luxury cars, offering leather interiors, massive touchscreens, advanced driver assist technology, and heated massaging seats. Yet even with all this, the F-150 never lost its working-class soul. Price has always been a reflection of its broad appeal. In the mid-1970s, an F-150 started under $5,000. Today, a new base model F-150 still starts around $35,000, while heavily optioned versions can exceed $80,000. On the collector side, vintage models from the 70s and 80s remain affordable classics, often selling for $15,000 to $40,000, while special editions or rare trims can bring much more. The F-150 earns its place at number 1 because it represents America in every sense: hardworking, adaptable, and enduring. It's not just a truck, it's a cultural touchstone. Whether on a farm in Iowa, a construction site in Texas, or a suburban driveway in California, the F-150 has become part of the American landscape. More than any other vehicle, it embodies the practicality, ambition, and identity of the United States on wheels.